Where do first-person shooters begin? It's not exactly documented whether Maze War or the spaceflight simulator Spasm came first in 1974. id Software's Wolfenstein 3D that released way later in 1992 is remembered as the first one that puts you into the boots of a soldier, making it the grandfather of FPS games for many players. With Catacomb 3D, id Software released a similar game 1 year prior, but since you don't assume the role of a soldier, its memories are overshadowed by its younger brother. Now, let's enter Doomsgate in 1993, arguably the most influential FPS game. After all, games with a similar gameplay used to be called Doom clones until the late 90s. As a space marine, often referred to as Doom Guy by the fans, you are tasked to kill the spawns of hell on the moons of Mars. It's almost strange. Nowadays it seems that futuristic first-person shooters have fallen out of favor for mainstream consumers. However, demons, magic, and the lands of a far-flung future are very much engraved into the DNA of the genre. So, why don't we take a look and go back to the future? San Nicolas Island, 1 year in the future. The hunt has been sent to stop the rise of the Triad. Their arsenal? Bazookas, heat-seeking rocket launchers, mini-nukes, and, most stylish of them all, dual-wielded Walther PPKs. Both the PPK and the game's rendition of the MP40 are the weakest weapons at your disposal. At least they come with unlimited ammo, so you always have means to defend yourself in case you've run out of stronger options. Due to the bottomless magazines, reloading is entirely unnecessary. It is a hindrance, especially if your muscle memory is adapted to modern shooters where you usually reload after every kill. However, it looks too cool to ignore. The animation fits in line with the rest of the game's presentation, being rather ludicrous and exaggerated. Something so unnecessary yet so satisfying might just be an insult to the unlucky grunts that stand in your way. Not that the AI would understand that, but it might just help the player to feel way superior. In stark contrast, reloads in Call of Duty do serve a purpose, multiple even. Not only is it realistic, but it also helps to balance weapons. Slow reloads can justify strong firepower. A high rate of fire can accompany generous magazines at the cost of recoil management and effective range. In addition, sleight of hand or extended magazines become helpful options for certain guns. The execution varies between titles. The purpose, on the other hand, stays the same, just like the animations. It doesn't matter whether you're an SAS operator fighting in the Third World War or a highly advanced combat robot. You will recognize the Call of Duty by its visual language. Sure, there will always be an animation that sticks out. The reload of the Sarich 308 in Black Ops 2 has a playful touch, and the AN-94's animation will probably remain a fan favorite. All the more welcome are the slightly unusual ideas the futuristic games offered. Advanced Warfare introduced proper emergency reloads. When in need, you could perform an urgent reload in hopes to save your skin from a desperate situation, dropping your old magazine in the process and leaving behind precious ammunition. Advanced Warfare also introduced the IMR, Call of Duty's first firearm capable of 3D printing ammunition. This concept was further developed with energy weapons featured in Infinite Warfare. Alongside a few ballistic differences compared to kinetic firearms, energy weapons are capable of slowly recharging their batteries over time. If used effectively, you rarely have to perform a reload, lowering your odds of being caught with pants down. As an attention to detail, Black Ops 3 established a variety of animations depending on your choice of attachments. This further improved the visual impact the attachments had on your gun. It's a shame the animations were ridiculed in the PS3 and Xbox 360 releases of the game. In an attempt to improve the performance of the game on the weaker hardware, every second keyframe of animations were cut. We were left with magazines clipping into position and any weight or impact gone. In 2015, David Helsby, senior animator at Bungie, reveals the studio's design pillars for the first-person animation in a GDC talk. These design pillars are principles they've been following ever since Halo 2. One part of this centers around the placement of the visual elements on screen. He proposes the idea that the screen space can be divided into 3 zones: the peripheral vision, the safe zone, and the combat corridor. We have that peripheral vision, it's on the side and on the top, and basically you don't want to pose or do any of your player actions or interactions in that space. Helsby explains that it would be only natural to move your eyes or slightly move your head if you wanted to observe something in that space. An option that we usually don't have in first-person shooters, as an input would move the whole body of our character. Blocking the peripheral vision narrows your field of view, which can lead to an unpleasant experience. I believe all those players that have been asking for FOV sliders in console games for years can relate. Helsby then goes on to say that the one thing, even more important than your peripheral vision, is the so-called combat corridor. This is what you focus on. This is where your enemies are. According to Bungie's design pillars, as an animator, you should avoid blocking this crucial zone and only break this rule if truly necessary. How many times have you been playing a first-person shooter and you go to reload your gun and all of a sudden you get killed like out of nowhere because you didn't see the guy in front of you because the reload was actually blocking your view? It's important to point out that those design principles are ideas. They are not the one truth to follow, and the game isn't automatically bad because it doesn't follow the rules of one studio. You could argue that, for example, Call of Duty has deliberately chosen to block the center of your screen during many reloads for the player's sake. When the series introduced customization and weapon camos, the devs wanted to ensure that the players can see their own accomplishments. That one camo you've been grinding for so long, let every reload be a reminder that you've made it. And when Black Ops 3 offered you to make your own paint jobs, well, I wanted to look at them, no matter how silly they may wear. Two barrels, a lot of buckshot, raw power and splatter. Double-barreled shotguns feel right at home in all ages. Even in the time before reload animations were a standard for every gun, developers put special attention on them to somewhat tame their power. Using double-barreled shotguns is not exactly a good way to conserve ammunition, as, at least in games, you're sometimes unable to shoot each barrel individually to keep a less resource-intense option, like a pump-action shotgun, relevant, not to mention the downtime after each shot. Switching between those two types of shotguns based on the situation becomes an essential gameplay element. The few sprites that make up the reload animation for the super shotgun in Doom 2 are iconic. Keyframes that portray a heavy motion even without interpolation. In contrast to that, Doom 2016's animation is rather disappointing. It's missing weight and impact. No memorable key poses, just at the edge of your field of view, thus making the on-screen presence of the two barrels way less imposing. Despite its age, Serious Sam arguably does a better job at portraying such a weapon. Sure, the reaction to the recoil is too slow, but it still leaves a good impression of the gun's power and is then directly incorporated into the reload. A striking presence and a fluid motion, with a sense of rhythm that you can follow while you dance through wave after wave of enemies. Imagine you are a pilot, You're not just a grunt on the battlefield. You are the true dominant force. Fast and agile, graceful yet devastating, perceptive, resourceful, and relentless. The words that I use to describe the pilots in Titanfall might as well be used to describe their first-person animations. As a pilot, your emphasis lies on speed, chasing opponents and outmaneuvering hostile titans. Once you enter your own titan, the emphasis switches to power, so that the one thing to stop you is overwhelming force or an equal. These gameplay differences are projected onto the reloads. As a pilot, your reloads are quick, a swift action with punch and weight added to it by the hectic but controlled movements. As a Titan, however, the reloads are a little less fluid. They are smooth, but appear to be more jerky on some key poses to convey the mechanical, robotic movements of the Titan. The standard issue action heroes of cinema must be cool. They are cocky, full of themselves, and everything they do has to leave a lasting impression. Those stereotypes converge in Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, alongside the only color palette to exist in the 80s. If your main character is named Sergeant Rex Power Cold, you know you can let go of the conventions of realism and go all out. Blood Dragon embraces this freedom. No matter how impractical or crazy the animations may seem, it is this very absurdness that makes them so thrilling to look at. Rex is someone who always speaks tough.
The guns make me safe. Bigger guns make me safer.
Someone who breaks the fourth wall.
I fucking hate tutorials, and this one is terrible.
And someone who needs to act cool in every cutscene.
And I'll provide the distraction. Let's show them how cyber commandos get it done.
He is the one who you would expect to just casually flip his shells into his shotgun.
Who wants some wang?
The rebooted Shadow Warrior follows in a similar vein. Although the reload animations are rather contained in comparison to Blood Dragon, Shadow Warrior doesn't take itself too serious either. You will see spinning magazines and Schwarzenegger's famous lever action twirl. The Neo Lo Wang is cockiness personified.
Oh hello, new ammo friends. You ready to kill some people?
Overconfident, making dick jokes left and right, and constantly offending others. When he's around, 2 might just equal 6, and who even cares if you're low motherfucking Wang? You hear that? The iconic sounds of a blaster. While it's never been an issue within the cinematic world, the expanded universe of Star Wars makes it very clear that blasters do need to be reloaded. A shortage of ammunition and clever resource management even is one big obstacle for Master Yoda's troops in the first ever broadcasted episode of the Clone Wars TV series. Some games try to reflect that. But strangely enough, it's EA's entries in the Battlefront series that fall out of line. In both the original Battlefront titles, reloading is a given. Admittedly, it's rather boring to look at, but it is an essential part of the gunplay. DICE and EA, however, take a different approach. Instead of depleted ammunition, it's overheating that pauses your shooting every now and then. EA's first Battlefront simply required you to wait for a short moment to cool down. In the second one, it's as easy as pressing a button. On the surface, this overheating mechanic isn't much different from reloading then. Sure, timing your cooldowns in Battlefront 2 in Gears of War fashion speeds up the process and grants you unlimited power for a brief period, but it's the mechanics linked to reloading or overheating that have a much bigger impact. Now there is no need anymore for support classes that replenish supplies or repairing the aiding gonk droids. As the complexity dwindles, the game becomes more approachable for wide casual audiences. In a time when LucasArts was still in charge, a fan favorite emerged. Star Wars Republic Commando put you into the helmet of a clone squad leader. Your primary tool to scrap those clankers? The DC-17M interchangeable weapon system. of course with a set of different animations for each configuration. The reloads themselves look plain on first sight, but the beauty is in the details, such as steam escaping from the chamber and your ammunition being displayed on your weapon instead of being a boring HUD element. With a large update, the Clone Commander was added to Battlefront 2. Luckily, they were allowed to keep their DC-17M accompanied by a reload animation opposed to the boring cooldowns. It's a shame we cannot witness this in first person. Besides specific games, it's interesting to imagine what the future holds. Access to 3D software and professional game development tools has become easier than ever before. The support for software and game development in schools and universities is steadily increasing. Besides, there are countless offers for e-learning and self-teaching on the internet, with content creators providing free tutorials, giving insights on technical details, and growing communities supporting each other. Young talents and new creators are presenting their skills to the public. See something you like? Then consider supporting the artist. Even a nice comment might make their day, some encouragement for them. As a wise man once said, keep moving forward. Meanwhile, the interest in virtual reality is rising. The current technology is far from perfect, often locked behind massive price tags and full of limitations. But give it some time. There might be surprises waiting for us. While reloads of firearms in VR aren't true animations, it's great to see how creative some players become. The future is uncertain, but one thing that remains constant is that reloading is art. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Until we see again, auf Wiedersehen and goodbye.